Flexibility fuels productivity. Accommodate team members' needs. What works well? Es bueno. Flexibility is no longer a luxury. It's a necessity for thriving in today's workforce. When leaders offer flexibility, they're not just accommodating schedules, they're building trust and creating an environment where people feel seen as whole individuals. Flexibility unlocks a sense of autonomy and ownership over work, allowing people to manage their personal lives while delivering at their highest level. It's about granting people the space to control their own time and energy, which in turn fuels creativity, innovation, and productivity. The best leaders understand that one-size-fits-all rules no longer work. When we give people the flexibility to manage their responsibilities in ways that make sense for them, we are not giving up control, we're demonstrating trust. This trust becomes the bedrock for higher engagement, increased loyalty, and better results. Flexibility isn't just a tool to accommodate personal needs, it's a strategic advantage for organizations to build resilient, high-performing teams. Real-world experience. I've lived the reality of rigid environments where people are chained to a schedule and productivity is measured by hours, not outcomes. The damage was palpable. Frustration simmered just beneath the surface. I remember the moment a high-performing team member was dealing with a personal crisis and asked for flexible hours. The response from leadership? We all have to be here from 8 to 5. That team member did everything they could to meet expectations, but the strain was visible. They weren't just burning out, they were being burned by leadership's refusal to adapt. It was heartbreaking to witness, and it was a stark reminder of what happens when flexibility is denied. People feel trapped, disengaged, and unseen. I also recall experiences where flexibility was reserved for a select few, the privileged and the entitled. It was freely given not because of merit or earned trust, but because of what people looked like or who they were connected to. Those in this inner circle didn't need to prove their commitment or dedication. Flexibility was simply handed to them. Meanwhile, others, often those who didn't fit the same mold, were expected to adhere strictly to the rules. I've seen firsthand how this selective flexibility breeds resentment and deepens the divide within teams, leaving people feeling undervalued and unseen. I know, because at one point, I followed the outdated playbook too. When I was able to change it, I did. I knew flexibility had to be foundational and it had to be for everyone. People didn't just start showing up. They showed up with energy, creativity, and drive. They felt trusted and empowered, and that trust was reflected in their work. One project stands out: tight deadlines, heavy pressure. Instead of demanding long hours in the office, I trusted my team to manage their time and deliver. They worked on how and when they needed to. And we didn't just meet the deadlines, we exceeded expectations. The key wasn't micromanaging. It was letting people take ownership of their work and trusting them to deliver. While exceptions do exist, my experience has shown that when you grant people the flexibility to manage their time, they tend to rise to the occasion. Empowered individuals feel trusted, and that trust often leads to extraordinary results. As for those who misuse that freedom, it's a different matter, because while I value flexibility, I equally prioritize accountability. What does not work so well? No bueno. Inflexibility is a silent productivity killer. I've seen leaders hold tight to rigid schedules, believing that time at a desk equals productivity. It doesn't. The most demoralizing environments I've worked in were those where flexibility was off limits, where being present from 8 to 5 mattered more than the quality of the work. In those environments, creativity died. People clocked in and out, but their minds were elsewhere. I watched talented people disengage because they were not trusted to manage their own time or handle their personal challenges. One-size-fits-all schedules don't just frustrate, they alienate. They tell your team that you don't trust them and that their personal lives are less important than the arbitrary rules you've set. The result is burnout, resentment, and turnover. People leave not because the work is hard, but because the environment doesn't respect their need for balance. What inflexible leaders fail to see is that giving up rigid control doesn't lead to chaos, it leads to commitment. Flexibility breeds a deeper sense of accountability because it shows people that you trust them to get the job done, no matter when or where they do it. And that trust is repaid tenfold in loyalty, engagement, and outstanding results. Flexibility is more than just a policy. It's the key to unlocking productivity and engagement. When leaders embrace flexibility, they signal trust, respect, and a recognition that work and life are intertwined. It's about more than allowing someone to work from home or adjust their hours. It's about creating an environment where people can bring their full selves to work without sacrificing their well-being. Flexibility is about saying, I see you, I trust you. Now show me what you can do. Even though it's a song about love, Freedom by George Michael perfectly fits the message of flexibility in leadership. The song's powerful message of breaking free from constraints and finding strength in autonomy reflects exactly what flexibility in the workplace should feel like: empowering, liberating, and full of trust. Just like the lyrics, I think there's something you should know. There's someone else I got in B. Flexibility gives your team the space to bring their best selves to work. This is why freedom resonates, even though the song was written about love and personal freedom. It embodies the spirit of what flexibility in leadership should look like. It's about letting go of rigid expectations and trusting your team to rise to the occasion when given the freedom to manage their time and responsibilities. Leaders who offer flexibility don't just get the job done, they build teams that are resilient, creative, and capable of tackling any challenge. Flexibility fuels productivity, and when we lead with it, we unlock the full potential of our teams. Letting go of rigid control isn't giving up power. It's empowering others to shine. This concludes Chapter 31. Please proceed to Chapter 32. Create safe spaces. Implement confidential feedback channels.